Well, hi there. Thanks for joining me. I know that in this current time with the COVID-19 chaos, it's had a lot of people doing some reflection around what's next, not just for their life, but for their business, for all of it, right? And I know that also some of you may be thinking about how could I create some revenue online? What does that look like? And there's a lot of information out there around different ideas of what that looks like. If you are a mid-career professional or achiever that has had some success in helping people solve a certain problem, and so you have a track record around that, and you also still enjoy doing it, then you have a unique opportunity. So, because those two things are pretty important when you're considering creating an online offering that eventually you want to scale to serve hundreds, if not thousands of people. I'm doing this video series for a couple reasons, because I've been doing this work for about 4 years. I came into this space as a midlife person wanting to create an online offering, and that's what I've been working on. And also video is now an integral part of doing that work if you are going to be working with people like as a consultant or a trusted expert in a way that around issues that are personal to them, business progress or life progress or whatever it is that you help, whatever that problem is you help that person solve. It's not a widget kind of thing, right? It's not e-commerce, it's not affiliate marketing, it's a relationship. Video is essential to that going forward, so that's why I'm starting to talk about it now, because my clients don't create video in a vacuum. I don't create video in a vacuum. A video is always tied to a strategy for business, and more online marketing is video. So that's why I'm here talking to you today about one of the business models for monetizing your brilliance online, and that is the signature program, or some people call it a course. Now, the signature program or course is a lot of work, and so don't let anybody tell you that it's not. But here's the key, and what I've learned and what I've observed. It's very beneficial if you stage this the right way. If you stage your whole entering the online space the right way, it's going to be more efficient in the long run for you, a lot less painful, and in the long run, less expensive. Because what you don't want to do is go off into your office for 2-3 weeks, months, however long, create this big course, and then launch it out onto the world. Because the chances are, unless you already have a big email list and people waiting for that content, that kind of, if they're waiting on that from you, then it might work. But if you're transitioning from being offline more to online, that's a little bit harder for a lot of different reasons. And there's actually a more fun way to do it anyway. And this has just evolved in the last really kind of 18 months to a year or so, this sort of approach. And I like to say you're doing it with the audience. You're moving online and you're doing your content creation back and forth. And what do I mean by that? Well, what can work really well if you're just starting out to be online more and thinking about creating revenue from being online, create a 4 to 6 video series. I call it an initiative. And that way it's positioned as something that all goes together. And what you're going to talk about in those short videos, and there are scripts for all this, and that's, those are all the details, but don't worry about the details. That part's figure outable. The broader point is, what is the strategy? And the strategy is 4 to 6 videos, short videos, where you're actually helping people along their journey of their struggling with this certain problem. So you're establishing yourself as a trusted expert, basically. And along the lines, while you're doing that, you can also start to invite people that you know well in your network, who you know want to hear from you, and that would feel it was appropriate if you ask them, hey, I'm really excited about this new initiative. Can I put you on my, would you like to join the email list to learn more about it going forward? Chances are they're going to say yes. And there's ways to word that request as well. So don't worry about that part. Then the point is, you're starting to talk up the whole initiative while you're creating it. An initiative is all going to lead up to a webinar. Okay, and the webinar is where, and in the process of doing a webinar, you're going to get more emails on your list. And by the way, if you don't understand why an email list is important, don't worry about it right now. I have some other videos coming out that explain exactly why it is, but just trust me, it is important. So building an email list is just as valuable as selling something because the email list is your future vehicle for reaching more people and having more clients, but we'll get into that later. So then you start your webinar, okay? The webinar goes a little bit more deeply with people. You add more value, you talk them through perhaps, a particularly tough part of what they're struggling with, or whatever it is that you know your audience best and you know what you help them with best. So the webinar goes into more detail about that. But the webinar isn't the whole solution. The webinar points them towards, like, okay, so I'm giving you this part, but here's this really detailed part, or here's this part that I have a specialty in, or here's my special, secret sauce around this that, we don't have time to go into right now in the webinar. But if you would like to work more deeply with me on this going forward, then you invite them to join you in your course. Now, your course at that point could just look like group teaching, group coaching. So you create some foundational content, but you don't spend lots of time and money on that. It's just the basics. And that content is simply a way to get feedback from them, help them of course, but get feedback from them so that then you can fine tune that content, and then you create your first version of your course that perhaps you start to market to a wider audience that doesn't really know you very well. So that's a little bit oversimplified, but that is one way to start to monetize your brilliance online. The key points are, don't wait to start talking about it. Get your strategy figured out first, of course, and then start talking about this cool initiative, and through that process you can start garnering attention, and people get excited about following what's up with you, and then it leads up to a webinar. And then the webinar, if you choose, some people just do the webinar just to build their email list, do a few webinars to do that. That's very valid. Or you can choose to then at that point invite them into participating in a course with you, but the first version of that you're actually teaching them through these online meetings. The specifics depend upon your offering, of course, but then after that, then you've had what's called a beta group. You've had a beta group that you've worked with, gotten the content in front of them, gotten some feedback, which is huge, and then you adjust your content based on that, and then you can move into launching a course. But the whole time you're still trying to build that email list, and you're being out there with maybe behind the scenes content, or there's a lot of different strategies around how you can use these little video pieces that you're creating to build excitement before your course is even launched. And depending upon what it is, and your audience, and your personal charisma, and your personal drive, you can even have perhaps a waiting list for your course before it even launches. I've seen that happen. But you got to start somewhere. So first place to start is just to think about, is the idea of creating a course even interesting to you? If it's not, that's okay, because there is another model, and I call it the mastermind, and you probably know what a mastermind is. It's more of a group coaching model. It doesn't have to be a mastermind, but it's less of a course and more of group coaching, and I talk about the differences in that in another video. All right. Thank you so much. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please let me know, and please subscribe. But once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I can do more interesting things on YouTube. So I'd really appreciate it. If you got value out of this at all, let me know. And one way you can let me know is subscribe. All right. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.